Welcome everybody.
God is king, we the soldiers. Ultra beam out the soul.
Turn me down a little bit. Welcome everybody. Welcome this evening to another edition of Brandon Robertson's Soul Hour. Now, this evening we have a special episode that I'm doing in dedication for this evening's election. This is the special election edition of the Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. So, for my special guest this evening, I have one of my dearest friends who is a political and community activist. She is now a newly founded author of her newly founded book. She is also someone who is very active in our community here in the Southwest Florida, and we're going to talk very much tonight in this hour about what's going on in our current election and what's happening in our area. So I would like to invite on to the show my special guest, Miss Vasha Tolbert. Miss Vasha, can you please go ahead and join us, please? Oh, how you doing? Yay!
Hey, Brandon.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Man, you know what? I'm nervous. I don't know why. I'm nervous because it's election. It's here. We finally got here. We're finally here. I mean, it's been what, like months and months and months. We've been building up for this, and we finally here. So, you know, this particular evening is a historical evening. I think this is probably one of the biggest presidential elections that we've had in a very long time. I would even say beyond what happened with Barack Obama and Bush. And that was, to me, like, I don't think you could have gotten any higher when we got to see our first black president. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now we have two individuals running for office, running to lead our country back into a more normal existence. And so, First of all, Vasha, can we introduce, tell the people who you are and let folks know who you are, where you're from, what you do, all that good stuff. Talk to them.
Okay. Well, I'm Vasha Tolbert. I am a Florida native. I thank Brandon, thank you so much for doing the accolades. Everything that he said, very transparent. Anyone who's worked with me over the span of the last couple of months know that about me. And I mean, I think we're all feeling anxious about, the results of tonight's election. But I do want to encourage you that regardless of who, is elected as president, it doesn't have to hinder you from achieving your goals and your dreams. You know what I mean? So we just have to keep on keeping on, and supporting each other and pushing each other forward and making sure that, we are upholding the Constitution, whether it's from an individualistic standpoint or as a collective.
And so, Vasha, what first of all, my first question is, you being a young African American woman, and you've heard this question come from me before, but what is your take on this election, and what do you like to see out of it? You being a mother, you being a daughter, a sister, a cousin, auntie, you all of that, and how do you feel that this election is going to affect you and your future and with your family?
I definitely think it's a turning point in the American history. Some would like to say that, we're aiming towards restoring the soul of America. I think that's the slogan for Biden and Harris. And I did vote for Biden and Harris this campaign round. Actually, I voted today. So if you haven't voted, for whatever reason, I pray that in some capacity or another that you served and that you were out, in the streets campaigning or protesting, doing something to allow for progression. But, I definitely believe that with this campaign election this year, that this is a turning point, and our democracy is on the line,
Right.
That's just process on it.
And so you being somebody who has been in the community, very active. When I first met you, I was like, wow, you are in it. You are a foot soldier in the trenches, right? And so from your past experiences, I remember I saw a clip on the news that you had when you went to town hall meeting, and you was talking about some of the issues that was occurring on the ballot. Do you feel that this particular election will have a significant impact on our community? When I mean I'm talking about the African American community, um, with either person who's selected. Do you what kind of impact do you feel like it's going to have on our community?
Right. I think it'll have an economical impact, a judicial, legislative impact, so no matter how you look at it, I mean, it's one way or another, you will be affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the Biden heirs, whether it's Trump, whether Trump is reelected, in some way or another, you will be affected by it. Because not only did, when you cast your ballots last week or today, not only were you voting for the president, but you were voting for, your local candidates as well, like the sheriffs, that affects you. You and I discussed Carmine. I did not vote for Carmine for a number of reasons, but our local municipality also affects us. So you can say, well, the president doesn't affect me, or whoever takes the White House, it will affect you, because if you didn't vote, you also did not vote for the justices or the judges in your local area. So we have to keep that in mind whenever we're approaching an election, not just this year or during the Obama administration, but in the next 4 years. We have to take that in consideration.
And with mentioning about our local officials,
right.
and you and I live in two different counties, because I'm in Hendry and you're in Lee County, and with our two neighboring counties kind of overlap in terms of judicial issues. And so when you and I had our roundtable panel, when we were talking about police brutality and the injustice between law enforcement and the regular civilians, like the regular community. And we actually had a chance to interview an officer who was giving us some insight. And so what I would like to ask is, based off of what happened earlier in the summer, when we was dealing with more social injustice, not political injustice. I feel like now, more recently, we've been dealing more so with that because both candidates were taking jabs at each other. But do you feel that either personnels who are running for president, do you feel confident, and do you feel like either one can take us out of this rut that we're in? Because you mentioned just now that if you don't vote, you actually you're actually causing harm to the the change. Yeah, because you're kind of settling with what's happening. So where's your confidence in like you voted for Biden and Harris? Where's your confidence behind them, and what do you feel that they're going to bring to the table?
I mean, my confidence, the reason that I chose Biden and Harris was because I feel like they're obviously more progressive, and people say, well, what did Obama do for while he was in office, or for the Black and minority community? Well, the things that we saw during Trump's election prior to this year, when coronavirus hit, a lot of those changes that Trump's taking the credit for was implemented by Obama, during the 8 years that he served. So when I tell you that I elected Biden and Harris, this go around, it's because I do believe that our democracy can be restored. And you mentioned that during the summer, we were fighting against social injustice issues, not necessarily political. For me, it goes hand in hand, because whenever a community is facing social injustice, it's up to the political party to make those legislative changes and to be open-minded and adhere, to what the people are saying. It's the people who elected these officials, so they have to be open-minded and be able to reason with us and not hide in the bunker. So that was for me like a red flag on Trump's part when he hid in the bunker when the protests were in front of the White House.
And where do you feel some of the policies that they're going to be presenting. Like we talked about healthcare reform, they talked about prison reform, which a lot of people, you know, when you do your research, both candidates have actually done things that you can agree with. Trump has had his foot in on the prison reform, and really, to some degree, did a little more than what Obama did. That's not discrediting with Obama, and I'm not taking sides. I'm just looking at it from a general standpoint here. You know, however, when everybody was freaking out in the recent weeks about the tax raise that the tax proposition that Biden had proposed, and all of, if you notice, all the 1%ers were upset about that, right? So we're talking about people who make over $400,000, because they know that if you start cutting taxes on them, it's going to trickle down. However, though, the flip side to that is that with that same tax plan, if it is indeed what people are making it out to be, then there is a negative impact that it will have on the middle class, because small businesses will be highly affected by that, which means that they're going to have to lay off people to cut corners or cut some costs down, right? And so you have two sides that people don't necessarily want to knowledge themselves on. They're just going based off of what the media is portraying. So for you, when you voted for Biden and Harris, was that vote based off of principles and things that you researched that you felt that they could potentially change and help benefit? Or was it because, being blunt, I need to get Trump out of office? Because I know a lot of people who have expressed to me, I'm voting Trump out of office. Yeah, but why? What is your reasoning for doing that? Because if you don't have a reason to vote him out, then you're not helping with the cause of getting him out in the first place. Because what is he doing that you're not approved of, that you don't approve of? That's my thing. I don't want somebody telling me that they're not going to, oh, I don't want to vote for Trump. And I'm not picking sides here. I'm just saying, I'm not going to vote for Trump because he sucks. Okay, but what's your reasoning? So my question to you, Vash, is what's your reasoning of voting for them? And if it was it out of to get Trump out of office, or was it a legit, I think that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden can really change and help us here?
I really do believe that they could really change and help us here. And my reason for wanting to vote against Trump, or not vote for Trump, was because, to me, and I was explaining this to someone earlier today, having Trump as the president is almost like being in a toxic relationship. We say, oh, well, he did this for me, he bought me these, but he's coming home every night and he's abusing you, so he's doing these nice, quote unquote, things, but he's turning around. And so to me, it's almost like he's, I don't know, Jacqueline Hyde. You don't know what to expect, and at the end of the day, one thing that I've always admired and honored about, our political, both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, is that they're both expected to have some type of level of presidency. We cannot be in alliance with these other countries carrying on the way that President Trump has carried on. As far as his policies go, I'm not against 100% of his policies, but I am against the way that he's bashed women publicly. I don't care what policy you change. That behavior is intolerable. Like covert racism and overt racism is intolerable. So when we see that, we have to vote against it. And if it comes down to policy, Biden and Kamala have, I believe, some groundbreaking policies that will progress the nation, that is fair, with the healthcare reform, and as far as the tax, because they are trying to do things to restore the middle class, in which I think we desperately need.
Right. And with being, I remember sitting at home during the first debate, and my wife and I were watching the debate, and then right after that debate, the tax issue came out with Trump, where they talked about how much he was paying in taxes. And I don't care if he was writing off millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Do you know my black behind was crying when I had no health insurance and I had my daughter and I had to pay $400 some out of pocket just to take her to a doctor visit, let alone them jokers took X amount of money out of my tax return, right? And this fool paid $750. Now,
Federal taxes.
like federal tax, like federal withheld income taxes, right? Now, I'm also somebody who is smart enough and mature enough to say that I won't bash somebody because the president is a hard job to do. Right? You can't please everybody. But what I like to ask you is, whoever is elected for our next president, what would you like to see that president do first? What is the first thing that you would like to see if whoever party is voted into office?
So they have a thing where they call, it's like the first 100 days. Once the president's elected, they have like an agenda, the 100 days agenda that they try to, complete. And one of the first things that I like to see is obviously continued police reform. We need, and this is something that Biden and Harris discussed during one of the debates, is we need to tackle those sentences of the people who are sitting in jails, for petty charges or marijuana, when almost a high percentage of the countries legalize marijuana. So we need to do our due diligence to make sure that we're swiftly reforming our laws against that. Another thing that I like to see is the actual study and some type of form of, and you might think that I'm way too optimistic about it, reparations. I'd like to see some type of surrounding talks and discussions that's being had about reparations. Another thing that I like to see is what you mentioned, health reform. If you are talking about, making the middle class a little bit more healthier, to where, when we take our children to the doctors, we're not having to foot a bill that we can't honestly pay right at the desk. We need to do what we can to make sure that we're reforming health care and that it's done swiftly. Like, we shouldn't have to wait another 4 years to only get half the job done.
Do you feel that Joe Biden is competent enough to stay healthy in the 4 years if he's elected? Because people were worried about him having mild signs of dementia.
Right.
He has the stuttering issue, which we all saw that Trump used against him in the second debate. Trump,
And in
I'm not
his
I ain't gonna lie. Trump came slinging them guns on that second debate. I said, dang, he put up a good fight on this one. I'm actually convinced enough to pay attention now what you got to say, because you did your team made sure you was properly prepared, because Biden came in there in that first round and he and then Trump came back in and hit him with the, oh, so didn't you send all these black people to jail too? Like, what's the? And then he said something along the lines, I wish my grandma could just sit on and go out and leave the White House and just not do nothing for X amount of time. I wish I had that pleasure. I said, dang, he taking bang, bang. He taking shots right now. But if you noticed, when Trump was doing all that, Biden got rattled and got thrown off. And he even said it, that he uses it when he speaks, it because of that speech impediment that he has. He found a mechanism to where he will not say nothing and let the thought process catch up before he speaks. But in real time, Trump was catching him off guard, so he couldn't do that. And people took that as a sign of weakness. Like, I'm not sure if this man is competent enough to hold his position. So do you feel that he would be so if he's selected as our president? And do you think that he can?
I believe so. And the reason that I'm encouraged by it is because even if, God forbid, something as far as, a health concern, a severe health concern does arise, he has a very strong vice president, who will be able to step in. Kamala Harris. I can't say that about Trump and Pence. I cannot say, you know, that Pence is strong enough or that he has the background and the pedigree to be able to lead the country. I can say that about Kamala because she's been in the Senate, you know, for decades. So, I mean, it's just different, you know. If that is the case down the line with Biden, I still would feel as though, you know, we will be in a good place because
Right.
his vice is strong.
Now, what I've also here's what I've also mentioned too. I've also thought about this. Kamala and Joe have had very similar backgrounds in terms of prison reform. I've had a lot of close friends of mine go to jail for stuff that they shouldn't have went to jail for. You know, I've known people who have not made it out of the prison system. And you know, Kamala was she had a big impact on that prison system in California. And Biden, with his high rate of prison intakes in the 90s,
Right.
a lot of people kept bringing that up. And I kept thinking, like, okay, this is 2020, right? Everything in 2020 is unnormal. Nothing this year has been normal. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So for the people, so for people to bring up stuff that happened in the past, it is super irrelevant. Now, the relevancy of what they did does matter, because if you were to imply that in your term now, that will affect prison reform. But my question,
but I agree though. I mean,
okay,
this is my thing when people throw up, which as they should, you know, if you have a history, you know, that, you know, where you're wrong should have been a right, and you own up to it, that's the thing. When our politicians do admit to their wrongdoings and saying, okay, that was trial and error, we know better now. You know, they might not have had all the resources that we have today to see what's working and what, I don't know, I can't speak for them, but we have to at least offer some form of redemption if they've admitted, hey, this was wrong, this is what we want to do to correct that.
Sure.
We're gonna write them off for something that they did, you know, like 10 years ago. What was it, 20 years ago?
Right.
You know, if they admit to doing it wrong, and not only admit to it, but they have a plan for on the go forward to correct wrongdoings. I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with giving them a fair chance.
Oh man. We just got word that Byron Donalds won his seat in the US District 19 seat. That's pretty good. It's a brother, so power to you. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I was for his opponent, but okay.
Yeah, well. which was going to actually lead me into my next question for you. How do you feel about our local officials that are running? You know, you and I know quite a few people who are locally running for different positions, and who would you like to see win in our particular area, and who is somebody that you would like to see? Actually, let me rephrase that question. Who is someone that you would like to see lead us into the next chapter for Southwest Florida that is running, that you know?
Right. Well, I'll start with the mayor. Obviously Jacqueline Miller. Only because, you know, I've seen her on the ground. You've seen her on the ground, you know, when we were during the summer and you know, vocalizing our concerns at the city council meetings. You know, she was very supportive. She made her stance very clear from the very beginning. With Kevin Anderson, unfortunately, that was not the case. You know, I felt as though, you know, he was kind of walking a thin line and remaining on the fence. Up until maybe 3-4 weeks ago, he made it very clear, you know, as far as, you know, what his beliefs are, what his stance is on Black Lives Matter. But with Jacqueline McMiller, I support and endorse her run. I pray that she wins because she was someone who was raised here. She's working class, just like, you know, the majority of us. And not only that, she's not disconnected. You know, the last thing that we need to do is continue to push and vote people who are just disconnected, like they have no idea, you know, what we're saying, why we're saying what we're saying. So when they get in these seats, we're speaking to them, but they're not understanding, or maybe they just, you know, don't care. I don't know what the issue is, but you
They
know,
don't care.
definitely she's definitely connected, you know, especially with the minority community. She's connected, and I feel as though she's done her part in showing us, you know, and being transparent as far as, you know, her policies, the things that she's going to do once elected. And it'll just be nice to see someone who started out the way that we started out, you know, to get in that seat. And now that I believe she'll be the first Black woman elected a mayor of Fort Myers, Florida. So that's definitely progressive, and I'm all for it, you know. So I pray that she wins. But we'll see tonight.
Was there ever an African American mayor for Fort Myers in the past?
I don't believe so.
I mean, I'm not originally from this area, so that's why I didn't
No,
grow up here, so I don't
no,
know.
but I don't believe so.
Oh, that would be super dope.
You know,
That would be,
especially in the climate that we're in, you know. And it's
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it's not always about the color. Like,
yeah, it really ain't. Yeah, I got
it's
you.
really not about the color, you know. But to see someone who is what they say they are, you know, and to
Yeah,
understand that, you know, it makes a difference. And that's what I think we need right now. You know,
yeah.
we've had it the other way for quite some time, you know, so we need to change things up and you know, see how it goes.
Do you think that do you think that people are afraid of this kind of progression that might take place? And what I mean by that is, like, for instance, let's say if Miss McMiller were to win,
Right.
that will demographically and economically change a lot of things that will happen in Southwest Florida. Not because she's Black, not because she's going to say,
Right.
I'm gonna go in office and I'm gonna start representing all my African. That's not. I
Right.
know for a fact Miss McMillan is not like that. Like, I
Right.
know that from just talking to her. She's not like that. But it would change. It would cause a vibe. It would set a precedent, like, in Southwest Florida,
Right.
that
Right. Right.
wasn't there before. So do you think America is afraid of that change? Because obviously, with Kamala being part of Biden's campaign, people were already afraid of that Obama was going to come in there and do all that he did when he was elected. And to me, people say that Obama wasn't a good president. Do I feel there were policies that Obama implemented that I agreed on? No, I definitely didn't agree on some of them. However, given the circumstances that Obama was handed when he came into office in 09, we all knew for a fact we were
Right.
we were broke. We were
Let's
we
be
weren't
real.
we weren't broke. We was broke. We couldn't afford that. We couldn't afford to pay for the B to spell broke in America. That's how, because we was in that recession. And he got us out of a recession. He got a multitude of prisoners pardoned. He also assassinated Osama bin Laden. People forgot about that. And after not one, not two, but three presidents had tried to attempt this before him and did not succeed. And he did it on the first try. So I keep trying to remind people, don't not discredit what Obama did. But do you feel that America is afraid that if Trump did not win, that these type of injustice things that we've been protesting about is actually going to happen?
I wouldn't say that it's America. I would say that, you know, it's a certain sect. Like, I'm seeing a lot more, and we saw it over the summer, you know, people that we didn't expect, you know, to be on one side, and they were on that side, you know. So, like, I don't think it's America per se. I just think it's most likely conservatives. You know, they're afraid of change, you know, and there's studies to prove that, you know. But I mean, with change comes opportunities, you know, so they have to keep that in mind. And I mean, that's just what it is.
And what kind of changed? I already asked you this earlier about the
Mm-hmm.
president, like what you want to see the presidents change, but what change would you like to see in our area and, like, in our region where we live?
I'd like to see a little bit more, how do I say it? Hand to hand, with our local police department. Actually in Charleston Park, I was working with, and I think it's Fort Myers Police Department. I don't know, but it's Carmine's crew. And I just feel like, there's just a disconnect. It's just a disconnect. If there's a suspect, not even a proven criminal, a suspect, you should not be harassing an entire community for a suspect. Go through the judicial procedures, bring them in if you have to, but you should not be harassing an entire community, just because you feel like you can. So there obviously is a disconnect there. I'd like to see that change. And I don't even know if that's something that, probably that the mayor would be able to kind of intervene and help out with. But I'd like to see that. And then we have also a growing homeless issue that's been discussed at our city meetings. And I know that they're putting together some plans to work towards eliminating that, especially with the hotel that's just been built downtown. So the homeless, I'd like to see some creativity with that. And then I've been saying this since I started, we need to work towards having STEM programs. We need to make sure that our education for our children here in Southwest Florida, that it's growing, in the right direction. There's not a lot of STEM programs, in Southwest Florida. Not a lot of recreational centers in a lot of Southwest Florida. Like our Boys and Girls Clubs their budgeting is being cut, which is reducing the number of Boys and Girls Clubs that we have open throughout Southwest Florida. So our children have no place to go. They don't have that after school guidance that they need. They don't have the opportunities that you would get. Like, I can't tell you, Brandon, when the last time Charlie went on a field trip. Like, she's been in school for about 4 years, been on a field trip once, so I'm seeing where a lot of their funding is being cut, not in a good way. So I like to see that change. We need to make sure that we have the budgeting available for those programs.
And let me ask you this, to bring this up, because I do want you to talk a little bit about it, because we've been talking politics and stuff. You wrote a book recently.
Yeah.
Tell us about this book, and what is this book about, and does any of it relate to, I won't think it has to be all the way particularly political, but is the book in relation to what we're dealing with? Tell us a little bit about what's going on and how was that process?
Yeah, to a degree, it does relate. And it's something that I mentioned the first go around with you, George, and I, where I discussed the importance of, making sure that we're properly building our families, and the men are doing what they need to do. It's a book just kind of talking about how ways to elevate in Christ, because, I'm a believer. And some of the fundamental things that has helped me to grow as an individual, because, Brandon, if I did not have a strong foundation, I would not still be doing what I'm doing. I've been, criticized on both sides for standing up for Black Lives Matter. I've been criticized for, leading or assisting with the statue removal that took 100 years to get removed, and we finally were able to remove it. So I mean, it's heavy criticism. It's a lot of opposition that you face. So the book is talking about how important your foundation is, and ways if you're not strong enough to be able to, tackle the purpose that God has for you, how to help you get there. Because people ask me all the time, how do you have the time to do all of this? Because, I remember when I first met you, you were like, I think I see you around, but I don't even know if you're single. Like, what you be doing?
Right.
And I am, but I mean, how many times did I tell you that I was single? It's not a conversation that I have a lot. I just do what I do, like I bring it up, but I am, so it allows me the opportunity to push the agendas that I'm trying to push, and still be a good mom to my daughter. And in the book, I talk about, those fundamentals, because a lot of women and men have asked me personal questions about, some of the things that I've been involved in my life. So I've always used my voice. It's just being amplified.
And do you think this book was therapeutic for you? Like, was it helpful for you to, like, kind of like get some of those things that you had held on to, you were able to discuss it through a book, and that way you can help others? Was it from that
Right.
standpoint, or was it more like, okay, it's something I've been wanting to do, I've been yearning to do for a while, and I finally got to it?
And there it is, right? It's a little bit of both. When you're passionate about something and you start doing it, like me speaking, writing, it's therapeutic because I'm able to utilize that outlet, to release a lot of my emotions, to, decipher how I'm feeling, what I'm internalizing. I'm able to put it down on paper, go back, because believe it or not, you can go back to something you wrote, be like, why would I write that? Like, I'm not gonna let nobody read this because this sounds a little
Right.
but so
Yeah.
to your point, yeah, it was definitely therapeutic. But also, it took me 3 years to write the book. So I started like in 2017. It talks about my journey, like when I first started, and found out when I was pregnant with my daughter, some things that I went through in my life. I'm really transparent about it. I was debating if I should even put it in the book because I didn't know how much I wanted the world to know about it. But I did decide to put it in the book. So I mean, it's in there. I can't take it out. So
Right.
don't judge for it. You know what
I
I mean?
ain't.
So I talk about that, and I talk about abstinence. I've been on an abstinence journey for about 10 years. So it's 10 years of no sex. And I've had a lot of. You still there?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm listening.
I thought
No.
you froze because usually people be freezing when I say that.
Oh, no. No, actually, finish your comment, but we got a special guest that's about to pop in because that's why I froze for a second, because I was like, oh, somebody just popped in. We got Miss McMiller coming in. So finish your statement, and then I'm gonna let her join
Yeah,
us.
so I get asked that a lot. So it's just, again, just fundamental principles that I believe will help the women in our community, the men in our community who are single, to help them find, a mate who's going to build and grow with them. If we want to, like I said before, our communities on the uprise, it starts, with dating. It starts with who we marry. It starts with our goals, what it is that we're looking to do for the family.
That's what's up, and I'm glad. That's good that you're speaking from somebody who is a single parent who has been doing the right thing, who has been trying to raise their child the right way. And so I encourage everyone. What's the name of the book, by the way?
Elevate Without a Mate.
Elevate with the you go on now. You go on here with your bad self. I see you. All right. Well, everybody who's watching, I'm gonna go ahead and let my special guest in. We got another guest that's joining us, and I'm hoping hold on, let me see if she pops in here. Where is she at? Miss Jacqueline, are you there? I think she's getting admitted right now. She's popping. Oh, there she goes. Hey. How you doing?
Oh my gosh, this has been some kind of ordeal, but it's been wonderful.
Man, we was talking about you earlier. I was hyping you up and everything. I was like, man, who you voting for? I had to give you your props now.
Hey, I made a promise. They're seeing me at my worst. I've been campaigning. I've been out knocking doors with the megaphone. I actually literally walked into my hotel room.
Well, I was gonna say, everybody who is watching, this is one of my special guests that I really am hoping. I have been pushing to everybody to vote for you. I'm like, look, got somebody dear to me that y'all need to go take it, because I couldn't vote for you because I live in Hendry, so like it didn't show up on my end. So I was like,
shame on you.
But I had my students, I had my musician friends. I was pumping it for you and Jacqueline. I was pumping both of y'all, like, man, y'all gotta get out there and vote. But everybody, this is Miss Jacqueline McMiller. She is a runner-up who is running for mayor for Fort Myers, and I wanted her to come in just briefly to speak to everybody who's watching, and just try to really push out encouragement. I'm hoping that you all got a chance to vote for her. And Miss McMiller, how has this all been for you? I mean, how's this journey?
It has been surreal. this has been really surreal. And, you know, and shout out to Vasha, because she is truly one of my heroes. I am so proud of her and
Proud of
her new book and what she's doing. She is representing strong, not only just Black women, but women in general across the nation. And it just shows that this is what we can bring and what we can develop and cultivate here in Fort Myers.
Right.
But this whole thing has been really surreal. It has been wonderful because I've had an opportunity to meet so many great people, you know, and listen to some of the stories that, you know, some of the things that everyone has been through. And that alone has encouraged me. I mean, I've been up since 5:30 this morning, which is just, to me, it's against the law to get up at 5:30.
You're right about
But
that.
yeah. And but 5:30, I haven't stopped. I've been knocking on doors, just motivating people, because I know sometimes how it can get when you feel left out and when you feel overwhelmed, you know, and you just feel like you want to give up because nothing is going to change. And I've been telling them, you can guarantee it won't change if you do nothing, but you have a 50-50 chance that it will if you do something. So you know, it's really important about, you know, doing this. Vasha is someone that people can look up to, because, hey, if she didn't try to write that book and do some of the things and make some of the pathways that she's done, it's all about hard work and dedication. That
Amen.
really can stop saying, I can't and I can, and continue. Yeah. So it's been wonderful.
And how do you feel? I mean, I'm curious. This is like, I can't imagine. You're all smiles, so I'm looking at me and Vasha probably thinking the same. I'm looking at you like you all smile, so I'm trying to figure like what you feeling right now.
You know what? It's I've been sitting here and someone asked me the same thing earlier today. And I don't, you know, it's like as I told my daughter today, it's like my faith in God has been so strong that I'm not worried about anything. This is when you get to a part where, and not to say that I'm going to slip sometimes and feel sorry for myself, but I'm at this point where I know God got me.
Right.
So because of that, and because of me knowing whose I am, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. But I got this anyway, because my people have been behind me.
Yes,
They have
ma'am.
stepped out. I'm so proud of Fort Myers. I'm so proud of us, you know, and the people that have come out. I met people that have voted for the first time, 45, 50 years old, you know,
Wow.
19-year-olds voting for the first time. You know, this is historic, and it's not historic because of me. It's historic because of the movement. I don't want me to be the reason why people are voting. I want me to motivate them to vote every single year. Every
Right.
time there is a vote, that they need to be out there and raising their voice.
And I learned my lesson the hard way in 2016 because I voted for the first time when Obama ran. It was, you know, it was the first time I voted. And I didn't understand the importance of that time frame when I did vote. Like I didn't realize what I was voting for. Like I just knew my mom was getting on me about it, my pops was getting me on me about it, my professors was getting on us about it in class. Make sure y'all go vote. All right, I guess this is important. And then after I realized the importance of why I needed to do that, then I voted again the second time when he ran. But I didn't vote in 2016 because I said, you know, I don't like neither of these candidates, so I'm just not gonna vote. And I regret that. And I really don't have no regrets in life, but I regret that because I seen what happened 4 years later in that time frame. And not that I'm just one individual, but my vote could have counted, you know.
Absolutely.
And so my question for you is, and this is a question for you to answer to the city of Fort Myers. Do you feel that the time it's time for change now? Like, do you feel like this is the point that we're at in 2020? Like this is the time. Like if it don't happen now, it may not happen for a while. Do you feel that way? Like I really feel like
I think it's a time for people to, you know, more people have been becoming more educated as to their rights and they're voting. And I think it's a time for people to, knowledge is power, acknowledge that knowledge is power. And it's not putting your trust and your faith in a person like me. You know, it really isn't that. It's putting your faith in God and saying that let God work through this person and be that voice, you know, and that's the main thing, because trust me, I'm going to make mistakes. We all do. None of us are perfect. And we are going to learn as we go along. But my thing is, it's what I've dedicated, and I've told everyone that I can't tell you that I'm going to make you happy all of the time, but every decision that I make will be for the people as a whole, and what I believe is going to be best for the people. And that's the best I can do, and address those things, because I've been a single mom, I raised 3 children, you know, and it's tough. And those are some of the things that we need to address: the affordable housing, you know, police reform. These are things that's holding a group of people back, not just because of racial situations, but because of the fact that they just don't have any money. They're poor, you know, and this affects us all. And I'm not ignoring the other half, because I've already lived on that side, you know. But if some of us suffer, if one person suffers, all of us suffer.
That's right.
And this is the United States of America. There's no reason for anyone in this US, which is one of the most powerful countries in the world, that anyone should be suffering.
Right. And you know, when I moved here to Fort Myers, one of the I'm gonna be transparent with both of y'all. When I first moved here, it was a twilight zone for me, because it was like I drive North Fort Myers, Lehigh, you know, this area, Immokalee, it's all predominant, or at least from this, again, this is my outview looking in, minorities. I felt comfortable. I was cool. I'm like, I'm back in my element. Now, travel a little further down 75, you pass Daniel Parkway exit, you in a whole different sector of Southwest Florida. Now I'm gonna call it like it is. Now I'm not using race in this. I'm speaking about demographic, and I'm talking about social classes, like the different classes of groups of individuals that live in Southwest Florida. And so every time I've gone down to Naples, Bonita, Estero, whenever I've done gigs like performing, you know, I do music, I always get treated slightly different than when I'm in Fort Myers or North Fort Myers or Lehigh or where I'm at in LaBelle. I get treated a little differently. And what I like to see happen is I like to see inclusion and diversity amongst these, what I like to call these tract cities, because it's a track that separates, it's an exit that separates between Fort Myers and then the rest of Southwest Florida. And what I like to ask you is, if you're elected for mayor, what is some of the changes that you would like to see happen, and that you would like to make happen? Because I got tired of people saying, and they didn't say this about you, but I kept hearing this throughout the months, that if people keep throwing race involved with this election, and now like everybody, and I've heard this from like my white friends, that like, you know, more African Americans are going to start running for office and people are going to vote them in because they want change and all that. I said, no, because if that individual isn't competent and they're not in the best interest of the people, I ain't voting for them. I don't care if they're black, white, Hispanic, whatever. If you're not in the best interest of the people, I ain't voting for you. So if you are elected, what are some of the things that can be expected, like the people from Fort Myers can expect, that they can see change? Because I asked Vasha that same question earlier, and she gave me a few different things that she would like to see changed in the area.
Well, I think the first thing is working on the affordable housing. I was endorsed by Andrew Yang, and I am totally sold on being a Yang Gang member, and that is universal basic income. That's giving people that foundation. As you know, and I truly believe in God, and God makes everything simple for us. We just complicate it, as people. And if you do not build a strong foundation, you can't even get a permit for your house, So therefore, providing that universal basic income, at least getting a pilot program going here in the city of Fort Myers, because sometimes young people and even, people my age, they don't believe anything until they actually see it.
Right.
So, providing that universal income, either $500 or $1,000 a month, is that foundation of saying, you know what? I don't have to worry about my rent this month. I don't have to worry about my car payment this month. So now I'm not stressing as much. Now stress is no longer within my household with my children this month. I'm no longer arguing with my husband because we can't make ends meet, even though he's working 2 jobs and I'm working 2 jobs, and the rent is still out of reach. So if we can give someone some hope, that foundation, a stronger foundation like that universal income, it gives them the ability to start to build hope. They become stronger. Children can go to school, making sure they eat. They're not stressed, because if you've ever been stressed, and I've been stressed and had to go to college, during my college years, and that's hard. So I can't imagine what happens with children. So it's going to fortify the family overall. And it's just simple to me. It just makes it really, really simple. The second thing is investing back into our neighborhoods as well. We have a lot of homes here that can be refurbished, repaired, to be able to provide housing for those who need it.
Right.
So this is reinvesting back. You don't have to recreate the wheel. We can reinvest back into the areas, and also ensuring that the infrastructure is strong. During my time just driving around here, and it's not like I didn't already know it, but our roads are falling apart on the east side.
Yep.
But people are, they're having a hard time because on the west side near Daniels, they're saying, well, we need wider sidewalks. It's a lot of people just wish they had sidewalks, let alone, having wider ones. So I've lived on that side of town. I raised my kids there in Gateway, and I know that the taxes are astronomical. So I can also understand why people would be a little resentful, because they're paying higher taxes, but feel as though they're getting less services, and that's not really true. But we have to educate them. I'm thinking about, I would love to see more culture here, where there's more of a mixture of people, so they can have those conversations and be able to communicate well enough so you can see what the other side lives like. I've been blessed to be able to see both sides. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run, because I see one side, I see the other, I see one side flourishing, but I see another side that's struggling, and they've been struggling for years. And it's time for that to change. But what I want everyone to realize, I can't do it by myself.
Right.
We need people to get more involved. We need more leaders. I don't plan on being here for a long, long time. I want to be able to learn what I need to learn, mentor someone like Vasha, like Vasha, and pass the baton. We cannot stay stagnant. This is the main thing. If you remain stagnant, you just rot away. And it's time for us to, we can't be on there 10 and 12 years. That doesn't make any sense, because time changes. And with time, we need to change as well.
Right. Well, I want to ask you guys 2 final thoughts, because we're at the end of our segment here. But I wanted to ask you guys, what is, out of this election, I'll ask both of you to answer the question. What would you like to see happen from this election overall? Like, what would you like for it to happen once whoever's elected, whichever, if it's Biden or if it's Trump? What is it that you guys want to see change in terms of the bigger picture? Because we know on a local level, what we're dealing with, but on a national level, it's going to affect our livelihood, how we live. whatever decision, whoever we choose in office. So your final thoughts. I'll start with Vasha. What's your final thought on, like, what do you want to see happen out of this election?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I did vote for Biden and Harris. So one of my main drives for voting for, that party, like you mentioned, is diversity and inclusion. I mean, anyone who knows me, I don't like to hang around just Black people. Like, I think we get more, we learn more, we progress, we grow when we surround ourselves with people who are not like us, who don't have the same upbringing or the same background or the same educational, background, that we have. So
Right.
for me, definitely diversity and inclusion. And that stems into, the big corporations.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that we're having those conversations. Hey, why is only 1% of Black people CEOs of 500 Fortune 500 companies? So we need to start tackling that. And I believe that the Biden and Harris campaign, is open-minded to do so. Like Jacqueline McMiller mentioned, we need to make sure that affordability is accessible, because if we truly want to restore the middle class and we truly want to give hope to the poor, we have to make sure that our, reach, that it's
Right.
possible, that it's realistic. So we want to help those who are down and not suppress them.
Okay, good. That's what I'm talking about. Dropping them jewels. And Miss McMillan, what your final thoughts?
I just want to get rid of the hate. This campaign has been, I ran when I decided to run. I knew certain things were going to be brought out, and I knew that God put me in that place to be able to bring that out, because you have to go through the test to be able to testify, you
Right.
know. And I thank God for it, because I never would have been able to even speak on it. Now I can speak on it. We need to drop the judgment of each other, because none of us are perfect, and be open to listening to each other without pointing a finger. But because if you point one finger at someone, three more point it back at you.
Right.
Right. We need to be able to understand that just because I say I feel this way, doesn't mean that it's blaming you. It just wants you to understand that this is how I feel.
Right.
And the dirty politics has to go. I've lost a lot of respect for people that have went in and pulled all of that dirty politics out and did that. You don't need to do that, because that shows the true integrity of who you are. When you go back and dig deep down and pull all of that ugliness up about a person, you should be able to run on who you are, whose you are, and the issues itself. And if you bring that forward and you connect with the people, you should be able to win these races hands down. And just really getting away from the separation, the divisiveness that is cultivating right now across America, and saying it's you, not me, and being able to, and that goes back to the whole inclusion and understanding each other. So we need to get back to basics. And God is not pleased with none of this that's been happening in the past 4 years. And somehow people are picking it up. And he's putting some people in place where we need to start changing it and bringing it back to where he's pleased with it. So that's my mission. And that's what I would love to see. And I think Biden and Harris are going to be able to do that and bring it back to basics.
Oh man, well, that's a good way to close that out. Thank you both. I want to thank both of you guys for taking your time, especially you, Miss McMillan, because I know this is like stressful, like on times 1,000 right now. What's going on for you? So I really keeping everything new. I hear you. Thank you. I want to personally thank you for taking the time to jump in on the call with us to speak to the audience and just let them know where you stand. And Vasha, of course, my homegirl, thank you so much for joining us. And you are definitely a leader in our community. You're doing such a wonderful job with keeping all of us in check and keeping us abrupt of what's happening in the Southwest Florida area, particularly in our region where we live at.
Right.
And the two of you guys are very inspirational. I will always continue to support the both of you. Anything y'all need from me, I got you. And so thank you both. Jacqueline, I'm praying to the Lord above. Please,
Yes,
please,
Lord
let's get
Jesus.
this dub. Let's get this
Thank
W.
you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I was late, but I just wanted to make sure I get on here and tell you guys I am so proud of you. You know, this is what democracy is all about. You got your own show, Brandon, Vasha, you're making moves, you know, and you're young, man, you know.
Oh, you
And
young too? Don't be trying to say yourself.
well, you know, I got kids, you know. But yeah, it is. I'm proud of you guys, and keep up the good work and making sure that the communication gets out there and doing what you do.
Thank you guys so much, and everybody, please stay safe tonight. In the next couple of days, it's gonna get crazy out here. Whoever gets selected, somebody on the other side of the fence ain't gonna be happy, and we're all aware of that. So just please be safe, please be careful, be smart, and everybody, you know, overall, we got to come together, like Miss McMillan was saying, like we got to get rid of this hate. You know, we gotta come together as one unit, because right now Corona is taking everybody out. It ain't showing us no mercy, so we gotta unify together. So on that note, y'all both have a wonderful evening. Everybody else, Facebook world, I'll see y'all next week for another episode of the Brandon Robertson Soul Hour. This has been the special edition electoral episode. So thank you both, and y'all have a wonderful night.
Good
Peace.
night.
Thank you.